Welcome to Take 5 Tax Tips with Kelly. This video is for you sole proprietors. We're going to go through our tax package, which details out all the expenses you can take as a sole proprietor to reduce your tax bill. Tax package can be found on our website at the tab Tax Packages, Personal Tax Package, page 9 and 10. So let's take a look at our tax package. We're going to be focused on page 9 and page 10. Let's start with page 9, automobiles. So do you have a car that you're using for business purposes? If so, this is a section you want to focus on. The first thing that you're going to notice in here is that there is a spot down here for your total distance driven during the year and your distance driven for business. What this means is you need to be tracking your mileage. And I know it seems like a lot, but I'm doing this for your own sake. One of the first things that CRA does in an audit is ask for your mileage log. And if you don't have one, this is where it's going to cause a problem. I know it seems like a lot to track every visit that you do in your car, whether it be for personal or for business, but there are some tips out there with some apps if you are a phone user. An iPhone, even Android has them as well, where you can download an app which will track the mileage for you. One in particular that I tend to use is MileIQ, but there are so many others out there, and you just swipe right or left to say if it's business or personal, and it'll send you a report at the end of each month, which will tell you how many kilometers you've driven. And with that is what we come up with a percentage to use for a deduction for every one of the expenses related to your vehicle. So I don't want you tracking just the expenses related to that vehicle for when you are doing business activity. I want it for all year long, okay? So this is every time you put gas in your car. Any loan interest, did you get a loan for that vehicle when you purchased it? Any insurance you have for that vehicle? Any license and registration fees that you have for your plates or anything along those lines? Any maintenance and repairs, so oil changes, you had to get those brakes changed, you got new tires, all of these things do count. Also, if you've leased it instead of maybe purchasing it outright, those lease payments, there's a deduction for that we can do. You are capped at a certain amount each year based on CRA rules, but we will do those calculations on our end once we know what those lease payments are. And also don't forget to track all of that business parking that you're going to be doing, any parking related expenses, because we do want to make deductions for those as well. Now, the other thing that you can do is depreciate your vehicle based on your business usage as well. So if you have not given us any information on your vehicle to start with, make sure you're doing that. Give us the make, model, the year, and the purchase price that you had for that vehicle, so we can take deductions for that too. The next section is your business use of home. So are you conducting any of your business out of your home? If you are, let's say you have a home office that's dedicated for this, so this isn't going to be space that's used multi-purpose. So let's say you just happen to you want to write off your living room because you watch TV in there all the time and everything, but when you do the occasional piece of work, you throw your laptop on your lap. No, you're not going to be able to deduct that room. What I want you to do is if you have a segregated space that you're using, so let's say you do any writing in your office, let's say you're a writer and you do a lot of your writing when you're in there. Let's say you do auditions and you're going to do a shoot in your office space that you've got dedicated just to that area, then that's a portion of your home that you can take deductions for each year. So really important for us to track that. So how do we determine that? We look at the square footage of your room that you're using for home office in comparison to the square footage of your entire home. And then we take that percentage and we take a percentage of the deductions of each one of the other categories that we have in this section here on page 9. So we're going to look at your heat. How much do you pay for heat for your home for the entire year? Again, you're tracking the entire space, then we take the ratio of it based on your square footage. So for your heat, your electricity, your home insurance, your maintenance and repairs on the home, any mortgage interest if you carry a mortgage on the home. If you don't carry a mortgage and you pay rent, well, it's a percentage of your rent payments as well, or condo fees if you're in a condo, a percentage of that can be deducted too. We also have property taxes that we can take a deduction for, and any municipality utilities that you're doing, or anything else to run the household specifically as far as your reoccurring bills go. So always make sure you keep those receipts as well so we can track any one of those. Moving on to page 10. These are all the additional expenses outside of your car and home that you can deduct. The first one on the list is your advertising, your promotion, and gifts that you're giving away. Don't include anything in here to do with meals and entertainment, because these are a separate line item to do with a much smaller deduction that you can have. Only 50% is deductible for tax purposes, so we want to segregate that. So advertising and promotion, then the business meals and entertainment, as we just spoke about at the 50% ratio. Bank and credit card interest. So any of the interest that you're carrying for any of those accounts that you've got, make sure you're deducting those too, because those are valid expenses. Or any expenses to keep accounts open or annual registration fees, these are all deductible for you as well. Association dues and fees. So are you a part of any unions, for example? Any of your union dues would all fall into this. Office and stationery, don't forget to deduct all of those pens and paper, notebooks, any of those types of things that you're walking in, a printer that you might have bought for yourself. All of those things are deductible too. Any materials and supplies that are required in order for you to generate any of the income you have. Any of your accountant's fees and any of your legal fees, all of those are deductible as well. Agent commissions and management fees. These can be really big. So if you're working with a business manager or an agent, there are commissions that are related to any of that revenue generation that you have. And a lot of this is going to be deducted right off the top before you even receive your check. So make sure you're taking a deduction for that and reviewing your agent summaries, which are going to really dictate this amount for you. You'll be surprised how much it is at some point and how much of a difference it makes to your tax bill if you haven't been including this before. Office and studio rentals, so maybe outside of your home office, you're also renting a space at some point in time to meet clients or to do auditions or to do any shoots or anything along those lines. Repairs and maintenance, so maybe within any of the different equipment that you've got in order to run your business that you need to do anything on, any of those repairs, we want to make sure we're including those too. Any travel that you have to do or any lodging related to any of your work. So let's say you've got to go and spend the night at a hotel because you're going to be conversing into even just a meeting or an audition, or actually maybe a long-term project, you're going to be somewhere. All of that is deductible expenses too, so make sure you track all of those pieces. So the lodging, the airfare, if you took your vehicle, that's going to be on that automobile section that we had on page 9. Don't forget if you're taking Ubers or taxis or anything like that, those are deductible too. Those meals that you're going to have while you're away from your home, very deductible too. And don't forget if you're entertaining somebody else and you pick up the bill, that their portion is deductible to you too. Then we also have your phone. So maybe you have a landline, maybe you don't, maybe you just use your cell phone, and we want to make sure that your cell phone is getting deducted too, but maybe this is your personal phone too. So think about a percentage that you think you're using for business versus personal. Maybe it's as high as 90% for business and 10% for personal. So we'll want to make sure the deduction is going to happen for that. Internet, cable, and streaming services. This is an area that could be very deductible for those people in the entertainment industry because this is your industry. This is where you're going to do your research and review of the various roles and other people who have been in roles that you're going to be going out for. So this is something that you can take a deduction for. Just remember that there probably is still a personal portion in these, right? So you want to make sure that your personal portion is not going to be included in the deduction. So think of how much you're using it for business versus personal purposes, or if there's other members in your household that are using these streaming services as well, you're taking that into account when it comes to the percentage you're going to deduct. Local transportation, so not just when you're out of town, but when you're in town, any transportation expenses that you have outside of your vehicle. Again, an Uber, a taxi, maybe you're taking the subway, maybe you're taking a bus. Any of those, make sure to deduct. Any professional publications or subscriptions that you have. This could even be apps that you've downloaded onto your phone. So don't forget to deduct those pieces too. Think about what the purpose is that you have it for. Is there a business purpose related to the reason why you've deducted this or where you've brought this down onto your phone? We want to make sure that you are taking the deduction for that too. Business, wardrobe, and maintenance. This is another one that's very specific to the arts and entertainment industry, and you want to make sure that you're only deducting this if you are specifically in that industry and you're needing it for the role that you're going to do. This doesn't mean that you're going to go and buy out all of your wardrobe for everything that's sitting in your closet and take a deduction for it. No, this is the stuff that you're going to wear when you are working on set, in the auditions, those different aspects. Now, the only other thing outside of that is for inclement weather. So when you're going to be on set, you're going to be outside a lot. And you might have to purchase some winter-related clothing, some extra warm clothing in order for you to be able to conduct that work while you're out there on site. So this is where, even if you're not an actress or an actor, you might be one of the behind-the-scenes people that can deduct that portion of it. So you won't be able to deduct your regular clothes, but your inclement weather stuff, that's something that you can deduct because you do need that in order to work in those conditions. Stage makeup and hair, this is another one as well that you can take deductions for. Again, keep in mind that it's only going to be for when you're actually getting it done for you to be on camera, not when you're off camera. Headshots, demo reels, any tapes, anything along those lines that you're getting done in order for you to get business later on down the road, that's something we want to make sure you can do. Any other professional services that you're incurring, let's say, for example, you need to get a business valuator involved in something, or you need a lawyer for something, these could fit in here too. And also health insurance premiums. So if you are getting yourself a health plan, you can deduct those as long as you have income to deduct that against. And even if you don't, those can be a deduction on your personal tax side outside of the sole proprietor business deductions that you can take as a medical expense. It just gives you a better benefit if you're doing it against the self-employment income, if you have enough income to offset it. And the last item on here I wanted to go through was equipment. So if you're purchasing any equipment in relation to your business activity that you're going to need, maybe you're purchasing a camera, maybe you're purchasing a computer, these are items that you're not going to be able to take a full deduction for in the year, but you will be able to get a deduction for over multiple years, over something we call capitalization in the tax world. Let's get super clear about what we can expense so we can lower your tax bill. If you have any uncertainty if you can deduct any of these expenses, reach out to our very capable team who can walk you through the process. Subscribe to our channel for more Take 5 tax tips with Kelly.